Hey guys, welcome to the episode of the Geekcast podcast. My name is Greg St. Clair,
Dan Whitehead.
and this is the second episode of Geekcast. What Dan and I are going to do now is something called a pick of the week, which is two things, one apiece that we have seen throughout the week that we found interesting that we wanted to share with you guys, let you guys know what we're doing. So Dan, you want to go first?
Okay, so last week, I guess, 2 weeks ago, I got a chance. I was just flipping through some stuff, and I found the show Mr. Robot on USA. And let me tell you, it was one of the coolest fucking shows I think I've seen in a while. I'm telling you,
Okay.
because like it has like a Fincher feel to it. You know what I mean? I'm watching it, and it had this like kind of Fight Club vibe about it. And the lead guy is I've seen him in a lot of things. He's in like the Pacific, and he was in that HBO show. He was in the Night at the Museum movies. He was Akhman Ra, if you remember.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then Christian Slater is in it from True Romance.
Is
He
it
plays.
Rami Malek? Is that his name?
That's it. He plays the
Rami Malek?
Christian Slater plays that title character of Mr. Robot. I don't want to give too much away on what that exactly means, but essentially, it's about what do you call it, like computer hackers, and like Slater's character kind of seeks out what was the guy's name again?
Rami Malek.
Right, Rami Malek, whose character's name is Elliot. So he seeks Elliot out, and Elliot's kind of like this loner. Um, he's addicted to morphine kind of stuff, so he deals with that. He always has his hood on, kind of thing. Again, keeps to himself, but the whole time you're kind of in his head because he's always like narrating and like, oh, this is how I feel. Fuck this, that kind of thing. Obviously, it's USA, so they can't say all the things that they would on like HBO, but they're getting. I mean, TV in general is really starting to push some stuff like regular television.
Yeah.
Like I've heard him say shit a few times now.
Not shit. Not the shit word,
Well,
Dan.
well, you don't think of it as a big deal, but on television, I mean, you would never hear them say
Like,
that on a Criminal Minds or a regular basic cable television show.
yeah, like some of those shows could even call for that, but I don't know. They do it in such a way where it doesn't. But no, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but totally one to check out. It's only been 2 episodes. I think the third one's going to premiere on Tuesday or Wednesday. I always kind of watch it on the computer, so I don't
Well,
actually remember.
today's Tuesday, so
So then, no, I think it's Wednesday actually.
okay.
Yeah, Wednesday. But yeah, definitely check it out. Really dig it. Curious to see where it goes. It's a 10 episode series, so they're doing a lot of shorter shows now, and I'm curious to see where it's going to go and if it has potential to go longer than a season, whatever. Sometimes they don't, but they always figure out ways to do it. You had a pick of the week, Greg, right? So why don't you tell about
Yeah.
that?
My pick of the week. It's another podcast. It's called the Serial Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, Serial is a company, and they normally tell one story, which is one season. And the first season is out. It came in the fall of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about this murder that happened in 1999 in Maryland, actually. And his name is Anand Syed, and he was convicted of killing his ex-girlfriend, Heyman Lee.
Okay.
And it's about this woman whose name is currently not on the site, and I haven't listened to it in a while, so please excuse me for not knowing who this woman is. But the case was brought to her, and it's 12 episodes of her going to basically prove this guy's innocence for murder that happened in 1999. And it's really, really good because it gets in like the nitty gritty of things. She talks to Nod in prison. She talks to witnesses, and it's really interesting to see all these witnesses try to recollect what happened, 15 years ago. The woman's name is Sarah Koenig, by the way, and it's really interesting. It's really riveting to hear this kind of stuff. It kind of goes back to the older days of radio shows. Like World of Worlds and things like that, and like feeling that intensity and feeling all the anxiety and build up to like, oh man, they're gonna prove his innocence. Oh wait, maybe he did actually do it. So again, the podcast is called Serial. It's on the podcast app for the iPhone. I'm sure on the podcast app for Android if there is one. I'm not entirely sure. if there is one. It's definitely a must check out. Uh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, actually, Greg recommended it to me first, and I think I got about an episode in, and it's pretty cool. It's like a little slower than most podcasts that you would expect. I mean, it is. It's like more or less like it's kind of watching like a documentary, but without the
Yeah.
video. And so it's a little slower pace. You kind of have to be, awake and alert to be listening to it. Because I know if you're a bit of a dozer, sometimes if you're really like, zoning out and stuff, you have to kind of be paying attention. But definitely a check out. I recommend it
And
myself.
the cool thing about it, real quick, sorry about that, Dan. The
It's all
real
good.
cool thing about it is the way it appears is that it's happening almost live. Like it's like a week has gone by and then they post a new episode. So you're basically following Sarah Koenig's story of proving a non citizen. So it's pretty cool in that sense as well.
Right. Okay. So just kind of that's it for picks of the week. Unless you had another one that kind of just popped in your head.
No, I'm good.
Nope. Okay.
Don't need anything else. Good.
So let's just kind of jump ship here a little bit. We're a couple weeks behind, but that's just what happens here. Um, Jurassic World. I finally got to check it out.
Yes.
I know you saw it a few weeks ago, but like I said,
Oh, I saw it a few weeks ago. Oh, yes, I did.
um, for me, again, I saw it on a computer. I saw it as a bootleg, 240p quality, kind of thing. I needed to see it, kind of thing, and I thought it was cool. I mean, it definitely had a lot of nice tie-ins to the original Jurassic Park because it was actually a sequel to that one, not to the third one that most people thought.
Right.
And I thought it was pretty cool. But to me, I never really got behind the Jurassic Park story, just as a whole. I didn't really believe that, like, who would ever really think that this was a good idea to have like a park of dinosaurs that would just clearly just want to eat people, and like, you know what I mean? I don't know. So
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, yeah, like, well, obviously we know now, like, seeing the movie, like, the potentials of what could happen. But like, if someone came to you and was like, there's scientists developing, dinosaur DNA and recreating dinosaurs, don't you want to see these creatures walk the earth? Like,
yeah,
isn't that not something that like interests you? Like, would you not want
I
to see like
think
a fucking dinosaur?
I think so, but they made it like out to be a museum. Not a museum, an amusement park.
So, oh yeah, okay, yeah,
You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like,
yeah,
oh, here's a dinosaur that could potentially like, seriously injure you, but here, ride a roller coaster while you're at it.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I understand that. And for those of you who have seen it or haven't seen it, the basic summary is that through this amusement park in Jurassic World, the scientists have created this hybrid dinosaur for the purposes of being bigger and scarier and to bring in more people into the amusement park. And like every single other Jurassic Park movie, the dinosaur has escaped. But this one, because it was genetically engineered, has altered DNA, which is really cool because you get to see a bunch of different things happen with that and see him scientifically explain that, which I always find fascinating because I'm not a science guy. Um, and it's pretty much just trying to get out of the park alive and somehow stop this genetically mutated dinosaur. And I think it's really cool because they bring in the whole idea of controlling the dinosaurs with Chris Pratt's character and of him like trying to train raptors so they could be kind of, I don't want to say domestic animals because it's not the case at all, but they're understanding and they can respond to orders or commands or things like that, which plays into later in the movie at the final fight scene, which I thought was freaking awesome. I thought the choreography in that was just amazing. That was really cool.
And I did dig the way of bringing the T-Rex in and
Right.
Claire, which
That was
is
that was I think that was the T Rex from the third one, wasn't it?
they said somebody
I
said
think I
it
think
was
I
from the
think it was the one
first
from the
one.
third one.
Third one? I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was the first one, but either way, it's from one of the previous movies. And Claire, who's played by Bryce Dallas Howard, daughter of Ron Howard, she uses the flare similar to the first one. I think that was just like a nice little reference to it, and kind of it almost becomes King Kong and the Beauty and the Beast kind of thing in a way. I think
Right.
where he doesn't really go for her, he goes for like let me protect her in a way, which I thought was really pretty cool, and it's a nice motif that works really well in other movies and worked here. And I thought the Raptors being almost like allies but kind of frenemies was really cool too. I dug it, and yeah, I don't know where they would go from here though. I think I would be okay if I didn't see another one.
Yeah, I mean, well, even the sequels to the first Jurassic Park movie were like, okay, let's see what we can like fudge in order to, put this out there because people are really enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but no, I totally agree. But like, what they can go with it is the fact that everybody's evacuated the island, and there's still a fuck ton of dinosaurs prowling around and whatever in the island. There's still all that happening, and there's no human life, but there's pterodactyls and things, and the one dinosaur, the aquatic dinosaur,
Right.
which that final kill scene. Oh my god, that was amazing. There's still all that stuff roaming around, so maybe they can do something with that.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get that under control, or trying to get rid of that. I don't know if they're still, I don't know, something like that. Maybe I don't know.
I got you. Now, for me, that scene, while very cool, I
Mhm.
felt like what, and I can't think of the word. It was one of those where, like in the old Greek mythology, where they just send God in to stop the villain when because the hero can't. It was like one of
Right.
those situations where how do we, solve this problem? Oh well, remember that fish monster dinosaur thing? Let's have him just jump out of the water randomly and eat the dinosaur. It was kind of like a scapegoat.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see that. I mean, they brought that aquatic dinosaur in a couple of times. First with the first seeing of kind of like Shamu,
Mm-hmm.
in a way, and then they brought him in again. I think he like ate a pterodactyl or something
Yes.
in the middle. I see what you're going with, but at the same time, like as an overall like collaborative effort to take down this monstrosity of a dinosaur and have him just devour the thing was. I thought it was a really nice touch. That was a really
Right.
nice touch.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, overall, if somebody said, "Oh, would you recommend it?" I'd say absolutely. Check it out, see it, and if you like the first one, which I did, I thought it was pretty cool.
Right.
Definitely see it, but I wouldn't say like, "Wow, I was blown away by it."
Right. I can understand that. I mean, any movie takes an acquired taste to it. So, but I would recommend it because I thought it was super cool.
Right. Cool. All right. Well, we're gonna do some breaking news. I guess sounds weird to say. I feel like I'm on the news, but
Yeah.
this happened just a few hours ago. They confirmed. This is coming from Heroic Hollywood and Screen Rant, Cineblend, all these cool websites to check out. They all confirmed Chris Lord and let me make sure I get the right. Oh, Chris Miller and Phil Lord. Excuse me. They're going to be directing, writing, and probably producing a Han Solo solo movie. Han Solo solo movie. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool.
Say that five.
Yeah, right. And but before that, they were supposed to. If those who don't know, those are the directors from the 21 Jump Street series. Both of them, the Lego Movie. I don't really know anything else they've done off the top of my head, but I know next they were supposed to do The Flash, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And so I guess they're backing out of that to do Han Solo's movie, and then if any future 21 Jump Street movies, they may just produce or write or not direct. But that being said, the Han Solo movie isn't supposed to come out till 2018, so they could squeak in another 21 Jump Street because they're not that hard to
Yeah, but
make.
this is a Han Solo movie.
Right.
Like this is so important to the Star Wars franchise because honestly, this movie, I'm imagining Harrison Ford's not going to be in it. My prediction is going to be a origins movie of Han Solo, how he became kind of like a space cowboy, space bandit,
Right.
and it's just so important for the fan base just to see like this actually happen. So I feel like they're going to put all their time and effort pretty much into creating this movie.
Well, then again, now that I think about it, and I mean, 2015 is just over half over, so that's pretty much
Right.
done. They haven't written anything yet, so it'll probably take the next year or so to write, and then
Right.
pre-production. Yeah, so I guess that makes logical sense. They'd have to focus all the time. And
Personally, I'm really pissed off. I'm really pissed off.
okay,
You
why
can
is
go ahead
that?
and say your end, but I'll talk about why I'm pissed off later.
Okay, so for me, I think it's pretty cool. I think they're good choices, interesting choices. because they're more like comedy based. And I mean, Han Solo's a light character; he's a fun character, so I
Yeah.
think it could work.
I think we play well to the Harrison Ford smolder and
Right, that
humor that he
sarcasm.
brings to the table. Yeah.
Now, my only concern is, because obviously with New Hope, he wasn't terribly old. You know what I mean? As when Harrison Ford was playing him in 1977, he wasn't terribly old. So,
Hmm.
are they gonna try and find somebody that really looks like him? Are they gonna like do like a almost how they did in Terminator? The most recent one I hadn't seen yet, but I know from the previews they did like a CGI like younger Terminator.
Yeah,
Could they do
yeah, they kind
something?
of
Go
they've
ahead.
been doing that kind of stuff since like Tron Legacy. I remember they did it with Jeff Bridges in the opening scene of like doing like a CGI thing of him. Back then, it looked like that movie. It looked terrible,
Right.
in the sense of like what a human actually looks like. And the Terminator, I've seen like the bit from the trailer of
Yeah.
a young Schwarzenegger, and that still kind of looks CGI'd.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, man. I think my guess they might even start, you know, like late teenager to like early 20s,
Well, what
where
I'm thinking the
he's
storyline
like
is
a
going to
punk
be
kid.
is I actually recently found out. I went back and I was watching the prequels torturously, and I was reading up on the third one, and they said that there was supposed to be a scene of, or they were going to have a character of young Han Solo in Revenge of the Sith, and they were going to have him be
Huh?
like a teenager on the Wookiee planet, which I can't think of the name of the planet, Kuwait, something like, not Kuwait.
That's
That's an actual
not
country.
Kuwait.
Yeah, no, it's something with a K. But nonetheless, they were going to have, like a 13, 14-year old Han Solo there. And then I guess
Huh.
that idea fell
She,
through.
Kashyyyk.
Kashyyyk. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so that idea just fell through and didn't work. So they ended up not doing that. But they did have that Millennium Falcon reference, though supposedly if you think of Star Wars timeline and expanding universe, that he didn't own the Falcon at that time because he wasn't even old enough. He was just a kid, teenager.
Right,
So
but in the seven, the 5, 6, and excuse me, 4, 5, 6, they talk about like what a rust bucket, piece of shit, spaceship it is. So I
right,
mean, it makes
so
sense
it's been
it would
around a
be all
while,
the way back then. Yeah.
and what I was getting at was, I guess they could start it like that, so they could have like Chewie and the Wookiees, like you were gonna see. I think there was,
Like a
I've
fucking like
heard,
Tarzan type thing where he like is raised by Wookiees.
I think you say that jokingly, but I think that's what the story is. I think, or maybe it's the other way around, where Chewie gets raised by humans. It's something where Han Solo was supposed
I
to
mean,
like, he was a pirate with like older people or something, but he was a kid, and he
so it's kind of like the Star Lord thing then.
kinda, and then he was supposed to like kill Chewie, and like they were supposed to like take the fur because it was kind of like they were fur traders or something, and he
Yeah,
couldn't
I
do
could
it.
see that.
Yeah, and he couldn't do it, and then he ends up getting like staying behind with the Wookiees and like getting. I think that's why he gets along with Chewie so well, and he understands them, and like they're like the dynamic duo in that sense. So
That definitely seems like something that would happen.
yes, I think that's the storyline they're probably going to go with, and then they'll probably lead it up to maybe just a few years before A New Hope gets picked up, because we are going to have Rogue One, which will be right before New Hope. So it's like how many, and then if they do the Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone, it's like how many movies are you going to squeeze in before A New Hope? You know what I mean?
Right. Which I mean, if you think about it, this is great. I mean, there's a fairly great timeline in between there.
About 19 years.
20, 19 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's definitely a bunch you can squeeze in there, but it all depends on what the creative minds that now Disney can think of. So
Well, I mean, you also have to remember, not necessarily is it have to be that 19 years. They're not locked into it. So, like, for a Han Solo movie, you could start it almost before Revenge of the Sith,
right.
and seeing him,
Yeah.
getting older and that kind of thing. So you don't know where it could start. And so, really, I think the possibilities are endless on that end.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
looking forward
I'm
to
really
it.
upset because these directors, the 21 Jump Street series is probably my favorite. One of my favorite comedic films
Hmm.
of both 21 and 22. I probably pissed myself with laughter in the second one when Janko realized that Schmidt fucked the captain's daughter and did the chant around Precinct, which was hilarious. Oh
It was
my
very
god,
funny. Yeah.
it was so funny. And the Flash movie, Dan and I are big superhero guys, and I was really looking forward to that because Dan and I both have the same opinion that we're not totally sold yet on Ezra Miller, just because we really haven't seen him in a Barry Allen type role.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a little concerned about that. But having those two guys as directors, it has the Barry Allen kind of sense of humor, and they also have that vision um, for that. So I'm really pissed off that that they're not doing these. Again, the 23 Jump Street's probably still going to happen, but at the same time, like even if those guys are, loosely attached to it, how similar is it going to be? It could be totally different. The humor could be totally different. The way it's filmed, that's happened before with movies who get all of a sudden new directors, and it just goes in a totally different direction, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? So I'm pretty pissed off about it. I got to be honest with you.
Well, I think either way, those guys are gonna make something good.
Okay.
And I think we're gonna be pleased with it either way. And I'm looking forward. I'm open minded about it. And yeah, I'm sad that if they don't, maybe they won't do a 23 Jump Street. I mean, it wasn't confirmed. I don't think
It
so.
wasn't confirmed, but I mean the end credits themselves were hilarious. That might have been like a final send off of like the imaginable possibilities of what the continuous Jump Street movies can be, where they go to cooking school or ballet school, or all of a sudden Seth Rogen takes over the role of Jonah Hill.
Right, exactly.
Maybe that was it. I don't know, but I really want to see another one because those movies are freaking hilarious.
Right. And I think there could be, but there doesn't have to be. It's not one of those
Yeah.
where I think they had a nice ending to it. Though I'm a big fan of trilogies. 3 movies usually is beginning, middle, end kind of thing. So right now we're at beginning, middle.
Yeah.
But if it needed to be the end, it could be too. So whatever happens, happens. But I'm looking forward to the
Yeah.
Han Solo movie. I want to see what happens, and I think that those two are good choices for it. I don't really know anyone else that could do it.
Right.
So jumping around a little bit, kind of staying in the same realm though. We spoke of Rogue One a little bit before. Darth Vader is probably going to be in it in some form. I just read that it's probably going to be in the effect of like holograms and like on like screens and stuff, not necessarily like in physical form. Just because he's not the main villain, he's kind of like the background villain to kind of tie the story together. He's there, he's just not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing to add to that.
No, I mean, the hologram form, as far as just like over the overall conversation of him, being the overarching villain and having at least some kind of like Thanos in the Marvel series right now. There's always like some puppet master in a way.
Right, exactly. That's a good way. He's kind of yeah, he's the puppet master, but then the Emperor's the puppet master's puppet master. So,
Yeah.
but maybe the Emperor show up there too. That'd be kind of cool.
Puppet inception going on right now in Star Wars.
Puppetception, yeah. Some puppetception. All right. So, let's go ahead. Oh, you know what? This last week was big as far as classic movies go.
Yep.
Jaws celebrated 40 years, and Back to the Future celebrated 30 years just a few days ago, actually.
I think Back to the Futures was on July 4th. Actually, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I did. And
Yeah,
we actually, or no, it was actually July 3rd. I thought it was the 4th. And when we were watching it outside over the weekend, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh, it was actually July 3rd, but still very close. Cool fucking movie. I love it a lot. I kind of forget how much I like it until I watch it. And then I'm like, you know what? I really dig this movie. And I always mean to watch the other ones, and then I never sit down and get a chance to. But they're really cool. I really dig them. If you haven't seen them yet, I don't know why you haven't, because they're really cool. They hold up 30 years later.
I just watched Jaws.
And Jaws 2, which we'll get to in just a sec. But Back to the Future, for me, is like, has it really just a good balance of everything, comedy and sci-fi and action. It's just a all around, just a really well put together movie. I like the DeLorean and the casting, and it's really cool. What do you think?
This is actually my favorite. This is the first like trilogy I was ever introduced to as a kid by my dad, and it's also as far as like classic movies go. Like this is like the thing I saw. So we used to watch these all the time. I'm a huge fan of all three Back to the Future. I think they're all great.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion, like the rest of the world's. I've seen the movie. My favorite's probably still the first one, just because of the dynamic between everybody. And you like it's your first experience in the world, and you're not sure what's going to happen. And then you get a little bit later in the uh, other two movies, you're like, okay, I can kind of see where this is going.
Right.
But no, I absolutely love the Back to the Future movies. I was talking to Dan the other day about kind of like the history overall of the Back to the Future movies, and I came across an article I found pretty interesting, which was that the it was not supposed to be a trilogy at first. The idea of going to the Old West was actually supposed to be incorporated somehow into the second movie. So they would have gone to the future and then somehow would have came back to the Old West and done things with that. So, and yeah, it wasn't even supposed to be a trilogy. It was supposed to be Back to the Future Part 2 was supposed to incorporate the Old West storyline into it. So I thought that was pretty interesting because if something like that would have happened, then we'd be seeing a whole different franchise of a movie because they could have gone for a third one depending on what the studio wanted to do, and that could have incorporated some weird shit. Like they could have gone back like way far, or gone forward way far, or whatever happens. But I thought that was really interesting. Interesting concept of what was the original plan for the movie.
And what's fun is now watching it because, especially this year, um, they obviously when they go to the future in the second one, it's
This is the year.
2015. It's this year, so it's kind of like they're.
Oh, my fucking hoverboard. Where the fuck is that shit, man? Come
I
on.
actually think somebody was working on it. There was a company that was getting pretty close to it. So I don't know, maybe in the next couple of years.
There's that thing called like the IO Hawk, which is like that Segway without the handlebars type thing. I guess the closest thing we get. So
Yeah,
sorry, world,
yeah.
not quite there at hoverboards and blow dried clothes. Blow dried clothes would be awesome, man. I'm just saying.
And we also don't dress like we're from Mad Max, like they did. Like they had some Mad Max styling going on,
Yeah, there was some weird kind
like
of just
helmets.
out there
Everybody wore
things.
helmets and stuff.
Yeah, thank God we dress better.
Yeah, the only thing I think of the future I would want is I agree with you is the hoverboard, which I don't even skateboard, but I think could just be fun to just jump
Well,
on and run around.
even like the concept like time travel and hover cars and like a hover highway that Doc was on trying to get back to McFly residence. Like overall, that was just like that would be cool to see today. Like it's
Hmm.
just all those things they predict. It would have been amazing if everything they predicted would have came true for like obvious reasons, but at the same time, like even like the little things like the hoverboard and the hover cars and
And the sneakers that
things
tie
like that.
themselves.
Sneakers that tie themselves. That's what everybody wants
Because we're lazy.
because we're all really fucking lazy.
All right, so we'll jump over to Jaws. 40 years, that's even bigger. Um,
Yeah.
for me, I can't remember the last time. When was the first time I saw the movie? I think the first time I saw it fully was probably about 2 summers ago. We finally were like, oh, let's sit down, let's have an outside movie. It was really cold out, and it was the summer, but we were freezing, and we didn't want to go in, and I loved it. It was really cool. Um, what I liked about it the most was just like, of course, John Williams' musical score is just
Oh yeah.
phenomenal, but was cool, and it was almost like a happy accident. Spielberg was saying that because the Bruce, the shark, the robotic shark, wouldn't work so much that they came up with the
Yep.
concept that you really don't see him until like he attacks. So you'll hear the music and you'll hear kind of almost like it's some from his perspective. You're hearing like the dun 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 dun, and then you're like, oh my god, where's the shark? Like you don't see him and all stuff, and then bam, pops up. Especially at the end with the famous line, "You're gonna need a bigger boat." He just comes out of nowhere and just this
Yeah.
big, huge, shark. And then, fun fact,
No, no.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say the the quote of the bigger boat and the shark coming up, and especially in later scenes, especially the Shark Tank scene, you kind of get that the first Jurassic Park movie animation, that first try at CGI type stuff where you see the massive shark. So that was really
Well, that was
cool
animatronic.
in the ocean.
It was all animatronic. It's a robotic shark.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive. There's no CGI in the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but to me, it looked like it was, I don't know.
no,
I just
it was. I mean, maybe if they went back years later and CGI fixed it, George Lucas is probably famous for that. So maybe he's like, "Hey, Steven, I can, fix this for you and stuff." And then I'll add
Steve's like, "Shut up, George. Do whatever you want." Yeah, that's probably what
right, and then he adds a scene that wasn't
happened.
even there, and like it's like what, whatever,
Exactly.
shade at George Lucas, shade. But
Throwing it.
and your prequels. Oh, can I just say something real quick?
Yes, Dan, you may do your spiel.
All right, so I told you before I was watching the prequels for Star Wars,
Yes,
and I just can't handle watching the Phantom Menace anymore
dude.
because like not even just Jar Jar Binks, but just the CGI. And this made me think about it. I read a pretty cool little article and watched a little video that went with it on how CGI, though it's getting better, actually to the eye looks worse. And it's kind of like, how can that be? And the way they were explaining it was they were using the Incredible Hulk movies, and they were saying like with the first Incredible Hulk, you almost like you like that better, even though, excuse me, there's not as much detail in the Hulk. You like that one better for the most part than the Ed Norton Hulk because you're what they would do is they would take like a city street that they actually went out and filmed, like San Francisco or whatever it was, and then CGI'd the Hulk into it, right? And then it's
Right.
like, okay, you're seeing real background, but with the Hulk. But with the later movies, they would create the entire like world and then put the Hulk in there. So you're already just like it's like too much fake stuff. And that's what like Avatar, it was just like too much like fantasy CGI stuff, so it kind of hurt the eyes to look at.
Right.
Whereas with the like old Hulks and the Terminator 2, even that still holds up 20 something, 30 something years later.
Right.
Because you're taking blank slates or whatever it is or with the actors, and then that CGI thing wouldn't be there, and then you would put it into it, but everything else is real behind it, so it looked better even though it was older. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
And
I'm not complaining about the CGI and like the first Star Wars movies or anything,
did
but
you
yeah, I
like
know.
use your eyes to watch that movie?
Yeah, I use my eyes. Okay,
Oh God,
people, I do not mind the first three Star Wars movies.
I
I
don't
will
either.
openly
I don't.
admit
It's
that
just
to the public. I don't think they're as awful as everybody just rips on them for. Like I actually think they push the story along. Like that was the goal. It wasn't to create this incredible masterpiece, maybe that people expected because of the first three was, but it wasn't supposed to be, this elegant masterpiece of the origins of everything. Like it was just supposed to tell the story of how these characters originally came to be.
to me though, as good as the stories were, and I mean, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite of the prequels,
Of course.
but it just seemed like it was George Lucas's time to finally just be like, well, if I could have made it in the 70s and 80s, I would have made it like this. And I believe that. I really think that that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
So he was just like, well, I'm going to have this random speeder chase with like a bajillion cars flying around, and then an entire, colony of uh, battle droids that get cut down in like a second, and all stuff. And all of that is CGI. And it's just, for me, it takes me out of it. I can't get into those as much as I can get into New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Those I just feel like lived in. I feel like I'm there with it. The prequels, I feel like I'm just like overhead of it, just watching from above, not in it. You know what I mean? I kind of
Yeah.
get what I'm saying. So, as I do enjoy the prequels, I'm not saying I don't, but I just don't love them as much as I do the original. I can turn on the original and be like the original trilogy and just be like, I'll watch all three. The
Well, I mean, yeah.
prequels,
I mean, like, I'm not denying that the original trilogy is not the better of the three. It clearly is.
mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, like, so many of our friends, just bag on the first three. I'm just like, it was fine. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, again, I like them. I enjoy them. You get a kick out of them. I love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. They could not have picked
Yes,
a better person for
correct.
him alone and his acting and how he portrayed Alec Guinness, I think is probably my favorite part of the prequels, and I want to
You are
see
the
more.
chosen one.
I hate you. I love those memes that they'll show it was Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan. He goes, "Oh yeah, your father wanted you to have this," and then it shows the third movie. He goes, "I hate you," and like all this stuff. And he's like, "Oh, and by the way, I want you to give this to my son." And it's like that didn't happen in the movie, but yet he took that
Right.
as, "Oh yeah, let me give your lightsaber to your son."
No, that's funny.
So I get a kick out of those, but yeah,
Right.
and I know they were talking about dancing around the idea with an Obi-Wan movie trilogy. I'm not really sure where, with bringing Ewan McGregor back, obviously because Alec Guinness is no longer with us, but and having it between like 3 and 4, kind of what does he do for all those 20 years? He just sit in his hut for 20 years waiting for Luke to be old enough so he can give him his lightsaber. I mean, he's got to be doing something. Maybe go on out looking for Jedi's or whatever. So I know that was an idea, and I think that they should do it. I think that would be a huge moneymaker, a huge thing. I think people would want to see it. I do. I'm a fan. I'm sold.
Right.
Take my money. I'm all in. And now they're doing Han Solo, and that's cool. But they're also doing Boba Fett, which is kind of like I was never like, oh my god, Boba Fett's so cool. Like I want to see a movie of him. I don't really know why they chose Boba Fett. I don't know.
Well. So Bubba's the kid in
Yes.
first in episode
And
2, right?
then
All right.
he's the
So
he's the one that
maybe
goes
it's
for Han in the original trilogy.
yes, maybe it's his, because he has to grow up to, I don't want to say fill his father's shoes, but the fact his father was decapitated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that left some pretty emotional scars, and I can see how it makes for a good story. I can see how they're able to use that information in order to create like an origin story for Boba Fett.
Right, but do you think like where in the timeline is it going to be? Because you figure, like let's do some math here, right? He was, let's say, 12 in Attack of the Clones when we saw him, right?
Yeah.
And then 3 years are between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, and so he'd be 15
Okay.
at the end of that Revenge of the Sith, and then add 19 onto that, so he's what, 34
Right.
at New Hope, and then but we don't really see him until Empire Strikes Back, and he's probably in his late 30s. So they'd have to do it after or at the same time with the original trilogy. Like they couldn't do before because he'd be really just like a little kid, like a young man.
I mean, like they could do something like him, joining the dark side, as like a recruit or something like
Maybe he's a
that.
stormtrooper.
Yeah, maybe he's a stormtrooper, and maybe he's actually one that can hit the people. And Darth Vader recognizes that and says, "Dude, if you're hitting people, you should be all the way up here. Let those other guys who don't hit people, suck dick down there. You come up here and watch them suck dick."
I,
So I,
you know what? Now that you say that, I think that could make sense because I think I remember in Empire Strikes Back when Darth Vader seemed to kind of already know him a good bit.
right.
He was kind of like when he was talking to all the bounty hunters, but he was really kind of just talking to Boba Fett, we secretly got this little plan.
So like maybe, I mean, there's the chance that Anakin Skywalker knew the kid Boba Fett. I think he did meet him when they went to the clone planet.
I don't know if
And,
Anakin ever went there though, unless he
Oh,
did it
yeah.
in the
Oh,
Clone
that's
Wars.
right. It was just Obi-Wan Kenobi. So even with that or without that, there's a possibility. But if he doesn't, maybe he hears the story about what happened and the Jedi decapitating his father, and Darth Vader at the time now kind of is like, "Hey, maybe I should take this kid under my wing." Obviously, he doesn't wield the power of the Force, so he can't do anything with that kind of stuff. But Bubba can go ahead and be like his father as far as like a renegade stormtrooper.
So I think I think I got an idea.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, so
Here's-
here we go. They pick it up, let's say 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. So again, we were doing that math. He's probably in his early 20s, right? He's been in hiding a while. I don't really remember what happens to him at the end of Attack of the Clones, but he comes back, and he goes back to that clone planet. He goes through his father's stuff. He finds the armor, and then he saw what happened to his dad, so he knows. Then he decides he's going to seek out Mace Windu, right? He goes, he finds out, oh, he's quote, quote, dead. But he doesn't believe it, right? Because we don't really know. He goes out the window, but maybe he lands on
It's
something.
implied death, but we never.
Right,
He could have landed on a cruiser or something and
right.
just
So
escaped.
the entire movie is spent him, getting the armor, making it his own kind of thing, and searching for Mace Windu. So Sam Jackson, who wants to play Mace Windu again, gets to come back into the movie and die all over again.
Yeah, I
Boom.
could see it.
That's your Boba Fett movie right there.
Okay,
Revenge. It's
there's
a revenge movie.
Revenge. Boba Fett episode 1, Revenge of the Boba.
Yeah. Now let that be heard at Tuesday, 10:22 p.m., July 7th, 2015. Dan Whitehead came up with the Boba Fett movie plot draft 1.
All right, let's see if that takes or not. We can go ahead back to Jaws though, because
Yeah, that's right. We digressed a little bit.
Yeah, definitely digressed a little bit.
So go ahead. You tell about Jaws.
I was going to talk. So I just watched it today again because
Mm-hmm.
Today was probably the first time I saw it from beginning to end. Because
Mm-hmm.
I would always turn to like AMC or TV stations like that and like be like right at the final excursion to catch Jaws, or I'm at like the very beginning and then like something comes up and I can't watch the rest. So I did finally see it from start to finish today for the first time. And for its time, I really enjoyed it. Like Dan was talking about, the whole animatronic thing wasn't happening for Spielberg, so they kind of had to Hitchcock it in a way where you really didn't see. You knew there was danger, but you didn't see what was causing the danger, which is really cool. Dan was talking about John Williams and the theme. John Williams actually, I don't want to say ripped it, but he got the idea from Antonian Dvorak. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that name right. But it's his Symphony 9 from the New World, and it's fourth movement, so the ba-dum, ba-dum, ba. It's a little bit of a rip from there. But the overall just concept of the movie, as far as shock attack, so relatable, especially in today's world where several shark attacks are happening right now in the Carolinas. I'm actually going there later this summer, and I'm terrified to go in the water, so we'll see if that happens.
Yeah.
But it's such a relatable idea. The fear of sharks and the storyline that it takes with like the mayor who just wants to enrich the town with all its tourists for 4th of July. I thought it was really well done. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of memorable quotes and characters. Chief Brody and Quentin
Quentin Shaw. No,
Yeah.
Robert Shaw
plays him,
yeah,
and then
Quint.
Quint. Yeah, with the nail scratching, which they do a very nice homage to in Master of Disguise, that awesome movie from a kid. I used to watch that all the time. I love that movie. And
Dreyfuss is Hooper, and it was just the cast itself is fantastic. Is it? I think I remember seeing a documentary about Jaws, on History Channel,
mhm.
and if I remember it correctly, Robert Shaw actually died before the first screening. No, it wasn't the first screening of the movie. What was it? He died. Maybe it was before Jaws. I don't know. Robert Shaw died right after production.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like something along those lines happened. I apologize for my inaccurate post about this stuff, but yeah, it was shortly after Jaws premiered for the first time.
I didn't know that.
And also just the significance of Jaws. Jaws was one of, I think, the first movie to premiere all across the nation.
It was the first blockbuster.
Because normally it's like select movies for like select theaters.
Right.
I still kind of do today, but today we definitely get a more broader spectrum of the movies that are being made in Hollywood. And also, it was the first movie to spend, I think it was months, honestly, months in theaters. Showing for people, because most movies were normally in there for maybe a week, maybe 2 tops.
Right.
Back then, but this is the movie that broke that barrier for how we view cinema today.
Mm-hmm. And as I was saying, and we were both talking at the same time, it was the first blockbuster, summer blockbuster. I mean, we take it for granted now with all these superhero movies and action movies and stuff, but before 1975, there really was no blockbusters, these movie, and for those that don't know, blockbusters is a movie that the term started because they would take up the entire block, to get in line. The line would
Yeah.
go around the block, so it was a blockbuster. And it was just these people just wanted to see this movie, even though most of them were afraid to go in the water these next few summers. They were still just like captivated by this movie and like what's so scary about it and all this stuff. And they go in there and they're like, oh my god, like this movie is scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty. That when that shark pops up at the boat, it still gets me. I know it's coming, but it's still like, you kind of get that little jump,
Oh yeah. But for that documentary I was watching, Spielberg was talking about how it was the premiere of the movie, and because they they had no idea it was going to have the impact it did. Like they were so scared it wasn't going to do well. Even during the production of the movie, they weren't sure, how far it was going to go. And Spielberg was talking about during the screening that someone in the audience stands to get up, and he's like, "Oh shit, we got our first walkout." Turns out the person was actually running to the bathroom to throw up after that first shark attack scene in the movie.
Yeah.
And just to have that happen, like that sequence of events happen, to know that like shit, like we actually did it, like we actually fucking did it, like that. It's just awesome. It's really, really cool. What Jaws did for the movie industry.
So you're saying you want to make movies that make people throw up?
I mean, if it's gonna get the job done, yeah.
All right, cool. But it was a huge film. Still is. I know every summer I try to watch it at least once. Now that I've seen it fully through, and I have a different appreciation for all movies and classic movies. And recently, I'm a big movie collector. Those that know me know that, and I've got like 500 movies or whatever, and everything, and I'm very proud of it. Yeah, and
whatever.
But
don't worry about it. It's just finally.
No big deal. Yeah. But now the more that I think about it, I'm like, why do I buy movies that, in my opinion, don't have any relevance? It's kind of like, so I've been thinking I might want to get rid of some. Yes, I'm saying that I want to get rid of some, and only keep the ones that I feel like have a cultural or historical significance. So.
Right.
Classic movies, and almost become like a film registry in my own right. And, so there's one movie that stands out that I probably don't need to keep, and I'm very sorry, Tim Burton, if he ever hears this, but is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I don't think I need to keep that, because...
It's not even... See, I can understand that, because compared to the first one, it doesn't even make a scratch. Now, Johnny Depp did a great job and everything, but at the same time, like I understand where you're coming from. Definitely understand.
Yeah, so it's just one of those movies, and I can't think of any others right now because it's late and I just don't want to think about it. But it's just one of those movies that, to me, it doesn't. If it wasn't made, it wasn't like the world would be different. So like movies, for example, like The Godfather or Jaws or even Back to the Future, I would keep those movies because years down the line, I would want future generations to see these movies because they have importance, even though it could be, hundreds of years, or not hundreds, but, decades old or whatever. I mean, look at 40 years old, we're still watching it. Or 30 years old, we're still watching it. Or even James Bond, that's now 50 plus years old, we're still into watching. Let's sit down and watch, Dr. No or From Russia with Love. It's these stories that, just grab us and hold on and don't let go, that we want to see more of and watch time after time. And it's the same thing to go back to Star Wars. It's just, the story is just so captivating and it grabs people that other movies don't. That even though these comedies like 21 Jump Street and Ted 2 I just saw last night, those are great movies, but they just, years down the line, you probably wouldn't watch them as much as you would Back to the Future or Jaws or, again, Godfather, Rocky, like all these kind of movies, because those stories, they just don't hold up as well as those movies I just named. You know what I mean?
That just got really fucking deep.
Yeah, you think? Yeah, it did. I felt very empowering saying that. I'm sitting here,
that got really deep. No, I know what you mean. I definitely see where you're coming from. Decades from now, kids are gonna have to like dig up, fucking DVD players, since like discs are gonna be. Like,
I plan on holding at least one Blu-ray player.
Yeah, no, seriously. No, I definitely know where you're coming from. Dan, you mind if I change the subject real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, so to get away from kind of the movie thing, because after all, here at Geekcast we do talk about all things media.
Hmm.
I just saw an article the other day that Nintendo is planning on releasing their next console.
Right.
And it's, the rumored date is 2016 sometime. And this is the impact that this needs to have on us as consumers actually needs to be pretty big because the Wii U is the lowest selling and least productive game console that Nintendo's ever produced. Personally, I'm a really big fan of the GameCube. I think it's awesome. It's a cube and you can play games on it. I mean, who doesn't love that? Um, but the next one they're talking about is called the NX console.
Hmm.
And from what this article says, they're really looking into kind of virtual reality.
Oh, wow.
So, the Wii broke out with the whole, remote movement type thing and a lot of like more, player control compared to just, doing the joystick and buttons. So now I think now they're going to be taking that even a step further with virtual reality, which is kind of, what Sony's been doing a little bit. As you've seen, they have the goggles, and you kind of get put in this world. There's that one Hot Pocket commercial where the kids are on the battlefield and the dude's got to get his hot pockets. So it's gonna be something like that, and again, it's gonna have to make an impact because again, what this article is saying, this article is on Screen Rant. By the way, it's by Andrew Dice, and what they're saying is if the next one really doesn't make an impact, that they're going to be talking about maybe not even making game consoles anymore. They might just stick to like smaller technology. They might continue with the DS because the DS has been progressing ever since that came out, the new arrivals of that. But they might look for venture off somewhere else, and as far as creating products. So I mean that's going to have a huge impact. Whenever that comes out, whether it's 2016 or early 2017. Yeah, I don't know, Dan. What do you think about the whole Wii thing? I know you're not necessarily a huge gamer,
Mm.
but what do you think about the Wii and this whole virtual reality thing and what Nintendo needs to do?
Well, for me, I think virtual reality is the natural step forward in
Yeah,
gaming
yeah,
because people obviously they want to keep moving forward. You don't want to take a step back, and that's with anything. But with gaming, it's kind of like, all right, we've seen the controller, we've seen the ones where the Connect, and now we don't have the remote anymore, and it can see us, and all that stuff, and Big Brother can watch us too. Um, so, well, that's a different conversation. But so naturally, well, what's next? It's virtual reality. It's going back to let's put some goggles on, let's maybe put some hand things, gloves on, whatever, and let's get into this world. Let's feel it. Let's be a part of it. And
yeah.
I
I
think
want to feel like I'm getting actually shot in Call of Duty. Damn it!
right, and I don't know how
I
they
wanna
would do that other than to have like maybe you wear a vest and it like kind of gives you like a little tap.
jolt.
Not electricity because obviously if you get shot, you're not getting electrocuted, but just like a little tap. Like just a press of
Well,
some kind.
it wouldn't be a press. The press would be traveling at like 200 plus miles per
Well,
hour.
it would be a nice little push. You get some idea, a little bit, more than just sitting on the couch eating chips while you're playing,
Yeah.
you know. But that's
So who doesn't love
that's a
to eat
call
chips?
out to America, people. Okay,
Wake up, America! Wake
wake
the
up,
fuck
America.
up!
Yeah, we're all over the place here at Geekcast. We just
Yeah.
motivational speakers, whatever. But yeah, so again, yeah, like you said, I'm not a huge gamer. I play the Batman games, which I know you were dying to talk about, but I just didn't want
I
to.
am so guys. I really want to talk about Arkham Knight, but Dan won't let me
Well,
because
because I
Dan
didn't want to
won't
get
play it
spoiled.
because Dan doesn't own an Xbox One
I'm not buying an
or a
Xbox
PS.
One
It's
or
fair.
a new game system to play one game. I just wouldn't do it. If they let me, I think they're now doing it where Xbox 360 games can be played on ones. But again, I'm just not that big of a gamer to just be like, yeah, I'll spend $300. I'd rather put that money towards something else that I could find more useful. You know, which I'm not going to get into what I need and spend my money on because that's not what we're here for. But yes,
Not
that's
preaching to that choir.
right. We're not need to preach that choir. But yeah, I'm all for it. Curious to see what Nintendo has to do for it and, what's to come. Now, I'm going to change the subject again,
Wow.
unless you had something else to,
No, no, no.
close
I'm
with.
good. I'm good.
This will probably bring us through the end of the show, maybe. But myself, Greg, and our dads we have the pleasure this weekend to go up to Buffalo and see, in our opinion, at least in my opinion, one of the greatest rock and roll bands, if not the greatest rock and roll bands. And I'm sorry, Beatles, it's not you. We're seeing the Rolling Stones for
Yep.
their Zip Code tour. And from what I understand, they're doing all the places they've gone on the Zip Code tour are all places they haven't played, believe it or not. In 53 years, they have never played these places.
Wow.
So they're going to Milwaukee, they're going to all these random places, and I guess Buffalo is one of those places.
Mhm.
And I mean, we said that we're big superhero fans, but as far as music goes, I mean, we're all over the map. But for me, I'm very into classic rock, blues, you know, pop rock. That's more like like the Beatles and stuff. And I'm all for the Beatles. I think they did wonderful things, and I'm a big Paul McCartney fan. But when it came down to it, if I really had to choose, it'd be the Stones. I mean, no
Mhm.
question there. I like their sound better. I like their whole vibe and their history, and they're just 53 years. That's crazy to be. I couldn't even imagine what I'm going to do in 5 minutes. Imagine 53 years. Um, yeah, so we get the privilege of seeing them. I mean, we're getting nosebleeds, but still, just being there, it's an experience of a
Yeah,
lifetime.
definitely.
And we don't get. I don't know how many more they'll have. Really, I mean, again, 53 years. They're in their 70s, so you got to kind of see them when they're there.
I mean, it's definitely gonna be a great experience. I also had the pleasure this summer to go to the Firefly Music Festival, where Sir Paul McCartney was playing, and for
Hmm.
me to see basically the founding fathers of modern music
Hmm.
in this era, to see them in the same summer is it's just so surreal just to see these people who have impacted so many modern and even past musicians' lives. As far as what they play, like even today, there are so many Beatles and Stones homages in a lot of modern music that people just don't recognize. But yeah, I'm so just stoked to see them. Even 4 days after that, Dan and I are going to see the Foo Fighters in New York
Hmm.
on Dave Grohl's Foo Fighters Throne. Have you seen that?
What's that? Oh, his
So
throne. Yeah, yeah, I've
his
seen his
throne that
throne.
he designed, quote, high as a kite
Hmm.
when he designed that thing. I don't know. Dave Grohl is probably one of the best human beings.
I can agree.
Like he just gets it. Like he just understands life. He understands the way things are, the way he talks. The whole thing that was going down with Taylor Swift and the whole Spotify thing where she took off all her music because she wanted to get paid for all her work. Dave Grohl was quoted in an interview saying, I'm not, some, prissy, pop star bitch who needs to control. I don't care if people listen to my music, in the elevator or whether they actually buy my albums. Like, I just want people to listen to my fucking music.
Right. Well, that's his always. I mean, think about. I guess we're going to talk about Dave Grohl for a couple of minutes, but I mean, think about his first album, which I think is pretty soon going to be 20 years old.
Yeah.
I think right around when we see him, he did by himself. Like he did that whole thing, start to
Yeah.
finish by himself. He sat down on, let me do the drums, let me do the bass, let me do the guitar, let me do this thing. And the only reason he didn't say, all right, Dave Grohl on the album was he wanted it to seem like it's a full band.
Mhm.
And he jokes now that oh, Foo Fighters is the stupidest fucking name for a band. He's like, that's like literally his quote.
No.
I think it's cool. I mean, it's a cool name. It came from World War II. I think something with planes and stuff. I'm not really sure,
Yeah,
but
that's what it was. It was the Japanese fighter pilots, I think.
okay, that makes sense then. Foo Fighters. But yeah, so that's where he got the name from, and really hasn't looked back since. And I think that's so cool that he can just to do that, and he's so humble about it from what we can see.
Oh
Obviously
yeah.
he could be a totally different person than what he puts on, but I genuinely think that he's a down to earth person. And again, Dave Grohl, if you're hearing this, we truly mean this, and hook us
Yeah,
up
dude,
maybe when we're at the
we're
concert.
huge fans. Also, as far as Foo Fighters go, Dan and I, over the past, I don't know, it came out in the fall, I
Hmm.
think. Yeah, it came out in the fall. Sonic Highways, which is a documentary about the Foo Fighters' latest album called Sonic Highways, and they're basically going to um, 8 cities.
8 cities and made 8 tracks. Yep.
made 8 tracks about those cities. So like the first episode was I think in Chicago, and they talked about the blues scene with like Muddy Waters, and I think Buddy Guy was in the episode too.
Yes.
They go to Seattle, which is where Nirvana was from, and that gets pretty emotional about Dave, talking about Nirvana because he's really not that big on talking about the past and those kind of things. He goes to Austin, Texas, with Gary Clark Jr. He goes to New Orleans with Trombone Shorty. He goes to Nashville with Zach Brown Band. It's really cool if you're really into the whole music scene, and even just to see the Foo Fighters. If you're not really into them, we highly recommend it. They're a tremendous band, very very musically talented, all of them. Plus their bassist name is Pat Smear, which is hilarious.
Guitarist.
Is this a guitarist?
Yeah, he's one of the guitarists. There's 3 of them.
Yeah. Okay, he's my bad. One of the guitarists, which is hilarious. His name is Pat Smear.
And that's his stage name, so like he chose that.
It's like something like super like Jewish or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
Or-
but like then he chose like, oh,
Pat
well, I have this name, but I'm gonna decide to be Pat Smear as my stage name.
It's like that's like I wake up and I want to be named something that resembles a vagina.
Right. Yeah, he woke up and he's somebody's son, so like his mother must be proud.
Oh, I mean, no disrespect, Pat. Like we're just,
We're just joking around.
in case you do ever hear this, which it's probably not going to, but you
never know.
guys.
You never know.
You never know. But yeah, definitely check out Sonic Highways if you guys ever get the chance.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's like you said, it's 8 series that goes quick. They're like an hour a piece. HBO, right? So if you have HBO Go, sit down, watch it. It's really, even if again, like he's alluded to, if you don't like their music, it's just the history that they can tackle in those little bits. I mean, New Orleans, I never knew how cool that city was, and just like the way that city comes together. Every Sunday they have parades. Just that day. I mean, they probably have even more than that, but they just come together. Let's play music. And after this, Hurricane Katrina, it didn't matter. They came out and they did their thing, and that's so cool to me. And then Austin, Texas, and how Willie Nelson got his start, and Seattle, and because of the rain and the grunginess and stuff, that's where it came from. They went in their basement, they wrote about being depressed. That's where grunge came from. It's like, I didn't know that stuff. So it's really historical, and that's really what the whole thing of it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check it out if you like music history, all that kind of stuff. I'm a big fan of it. I'm sure you will be too.
Yes.
But Greg, I think that's all I got on my list of stuff to do. It's getting late here, so I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up unless you had something else you wanted to add.
Nah, I'm good. Thank you guys again for listening to the Geekcast podcast. We got our Facebook page, Geekcast Podcast, GeeKkast. We're also on Twitter, and we're also on Instagram. I think it's is it Geekcast Podcast?
So for all of these social medias, I made it really easy. Just search Geekcast Network.
Okay.
And network spelt normally. We didn't try to be something weird with it. Just Geekcast Network. Just how Greg spelt it. And we're, like you said, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We have a website, geekcastnetwork.weebly.com. That's WEEBLY.com. And it keeps you up to date. We're going to put some fun stuff on there eventually, and just keep people informed and stuff. So please listen, tell your friends. Again, we're just, two
Tweet
guys.
us any, questions you have, anything you want us to talk about in the upcoming episodes. We really want to hear you guys' feedback. So definitely please reach out to us in that aspect.
And yeah, like I was saying, we're just 2 guys that decided we like to hear ourselves talk. So, and we talk about this stuff anyway, so we might as well record it and have other people listen to it. So, if you don't like us, you like us, whatever, let us know. And we'll talk to you soon. All right, party on.
Yeah. Party on.